about, but no. So anything else about Kamala that we know or that you foresee happening here with that movement and what she's doing?
Well, look, Kamala was raised, her father was a Marxist professor at Stanford. Her mother was a radical, come from a radical Indian family from India, right? The father was from Jamaica. They met in Berkeley. They're involved in the Afro-American Association, which was a radical communist group that loved Che Guevara, loved Fidel Castro, loved Mao Zedong, and spawned the Black Panther Party. Now, that's very significant, see, because the Maoists focus more on race than class. The old Soviet game was you get the workers to rise up against the capitalists, okay? The Maoists, it's the oppressed peoples of color rising up against the white capitalist exploiters. So Black Lives Matter, Black Panthers, which was a pro-Chinese, pro-North Korean outfit, was the forerunner of Black Lives Matter. It's no accident that Kamala Harris is best friends, very close friends with Alicia Garza, the founder of Black Lives Matter, who was part of the Chinese Progressive Association, which works totally with the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. So what we have is a race-based Maoist, and I can go into much more about Kamala, a race-based Maoist who will be like putting Black Lives Matter into the White House. And what she is doing is using that rainbow coalition strategy. See, in the last 3 or 4 elections, the Chinese communists have had a whole bunch of voter registration organizations run by American communists who are loyal to China in the key states. Lucha in Arizona, which made 8 million phone calls and knocked on 1.8 million doors in the last election. Pennsylvania stands it up in Pennsylvania. Black leaders organizing communities in Wisconsin, New Georgia Project in Georgia. These radical communists have used the energy of Black Lives Matter to flip the inner cities of all the key swing states for Biden-Harris. I'm sure there's electronic stuff going on, but right under our noses, pro-Chinese communist groups have been flipping key states, all for Biden-Harris, and she is intimately connected to these networks. It runs through Black Lives Matter. It runs through out of the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. Everywhere you look around Kamala Harris, there are Maoist communists. What we are seeing is the Maoist takedown of America using racial minorities to achieve, to create disharmony and chaos, but also to win elections when it's needed. That's the game here, and she is their poster child.
Yeah. No, and it was something that as you were talking there about the Black Panthers, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I think you would appreciate it. And I'll put a picture on the screen of it when I edit this. But when I was at the communist meeting at Berkeley in 1992, I was sitting there talking to this nice black lady next to me. We were just having fun, chit-chatting and laughing and whatever. And then the opening ceremony started, and they get up there, and Maxine Waters was there, and Barbara Lee was there at this communist meeting. But they said, before we get started, we want to recognize someone that has done so much for the movement, and blah, blah, blah. And they go on, and they say, Miss Angela Davis of the Black Panthers. And that was the lady I've been talking to for 30 minutes or so and laughing.
Oh, you were talking to Angela Davis?
Yes, and I have a picture of us. I said, then when I realized that's who it was, I said, oh, can I get a picture with you afterwards? So I've got a picture of me a lot younger than I am now, but with her, and she's smiling, I'm smiling. It's like we're buddies or whatever. But I was shocked.
Well, that meeting, that was the formation of the Committees of Correspondence.
That's right.
Which was a spin-off of the Communist Party USA split in 1991. And the race-based factions joined up with the Maoists and some Trotskyists to form this new group, Committees of Correspondence. And Angela Davis was a key member of it and a former leader of the Black Panthers. Barbara Lee was in the Black Panthers too. I knew she was there, but I didn't know that Maxine Waters was there. I wish I'd known that. But Yeah, look, you were there, and you were there at the formation of a major communist organization, which still has a lot of power today.
Yeah.
And so,
It,
not many Americans get that insight, do they? You know,
no. And I
issues that.
happened to be there, and not knowing I'm 16 years later, I'm going to make a movie on all this stuff. I went there as a favor to John Stormer and Fred Schwartz. They were both curious. What is this going to be about? Because, the Berlin Wall had come down and the Soviet Union had dissolved. They said, go listen to what they have to say. We can't go because we're known. They'll know us if they see us there. And so, yeah, afterward, then I flew down to Los Angeles to meet with Fred Schwartz, and he wanted to hear all about it. We went to Sizzler, his favorite restaurant, and I just filled him in on what it was about and stuff. But anyway, that was just an interesting time there to be where I was put. The God put me there, obviously, because he knew, oh, later I'm going to have you make a movie that's going to be important that you were here.
Well, you didn't see the significance at the time. You probably thought, bunch of losers and they're never going to do anything, but now they run America.
I know.
Now their candidate could be the president.
I know. No, it's amazing.
And she is like Barack Obama was a communist, but not so obviously. But I don't think Kamala, he's a bit more sophisticated than Kamala. I don't think Kamala has ever thought in any way beyond Marxist thought patterns. She is a red diaper baby to the maximum. She That's is. Right. What did she say the other day? From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. We're the classic Marxism. Yeah. We're going to upend this society.
Yeah.
No, like Barack Obama's, we're going to fundamentally transform this nation. This is Marxists telling other Marxists, this is what we're going to do. But we're going to use this kind of language because we don't want the other people to know.
That's right. And you probably remember, but people 4 years ago, when she was first running and stuff, she made a video.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests, everyone should get the same amount. The problem with that, not everybody's starting out from the same place. So if we're all getting the same amount, but you started out back there and I started out over here, we could get the same amount, but you're still going to be that far back behind me. It's about giving people the resources and the support they need so that everyone can be on equal footing and then compete on equal footing. Equitable treatment means we all end up at the same place.
Equity is when we all arrive at the same place, which is communism. It's the only...
Absolutely. Equity is the modern code word for communism. And she explicitly stated that and drew the different... Look, we all believe in equality. To us, that means equality before the law.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opportunity. You don't get treated differently because you're rich or poor. The law doesn't treat you differently. That's the ideal. Well, no, it doesn't happen in America, but that's the ideal. Equity is exactly as you say. The outcomes must be the same. If you start out rich, you must be brought to a certain level. If you start out poor, you must be brought to the same level. Equity. Yes. That is the new Marxist buzzword. She is a Marxist to the core, but nobody knows it. That's why I've called my new book that I'm putting out on a Stealth. It's called Stealth, Kamala Harris's Communist Roots. Ooh. So she is a stealth communist candidate. That's what she is.
That's great. No, that's good. We'll talk for a minute about Tim Walz because he doesn't seem much better.
No. Well, Tim Walz came out of the Wellstone movement of Minnesota. Now, Paul Wellstone was a senator who very beloved on the left, Democrat senator who died in a plane crash in 2002. But he was a Marxist. He was in the pro-Chinese group. Then he got involved with Democratic Socialists of America, and they got him elected twice. They got him. They were the backbone of his campaign. He was the Bernie Sanders before there was a Bernie Sanders. He would have run for president had he not been killed. But his son started a group called Wellstone Action to train young Marxists for public office. On the advisory board was someone you'll know, Francis Fox Piven, the famous Marxist who wanted to bring socialism by destroying our economy, okay, and open the borders. Now, they trained Tim Walz. His trainer was Peggy Flanagan, who is now his lieutenant governor. His another trainer was Keith Ellison, who is now his attorney general. The Wellstone Mafia, Marxists run Minnesota, which will be no surprise to any patriot who lives in Minnesota. But the Chinese ties. See, Kamala comes out of the pro-Chinese communist movement. Tim Walz was a National Guardsman. Joined the National Guard at 17. You think that's good, that's patriotic. About the age of 20, he applied for a scholarship, applied for a Harvard program to teach in communist China. He taught in a high school in China when Tiananmen Square was going on. He came back there 5 years later to get married, and he got married on the anniversary of the massacre, so he could remember the date, right? But also he started a business funded by the Chinese government that over a 20-year period brought something like 21 or 22 delegations of young Minnesota high school kids for training exposure tours to China, where they were told to de-emphasize their Americanness and draw themselves into the Chinese culture. Okay, this is funded by the Chinese government. Now, he's a military guy. There's no military guy working in China that does not draw the interest of the Chinese intelligence services, especially when you're bringing kids in, especially when the Chinese government is funding it. He also taught in a university in Macau as a visiting lecturer. That's a communist part of China. And then he ran for Congress in 2006, and he served on the Armed Services Committee because of his military background. But he still kept going back to China. He still kept propagandizing for China. When Trump was trying to cut trade with China, Tim Walz was using the Minnesota soybean trade to propagandize in the opposite direction. No, we got to keep the trade with China going because Minnesota depends on it. He was trying to go against Trump. And he keynoted a conference 2019 of the US-China People's Friendship Association. That is an old communist front from the 50s that's still very active, that propagandizes for China. And the woman on the podium with him was Li Xiaolin, the head of the Chinese People's Friendship with Foreign Countries Association, the leading Communist Party body that propagandizes in the West. And he was right that she is the daughter of a former Chinese president under Deng Xiaoping. She was Chinese communist royalty. So here he is propagandizing for China with Chinese Communist Party royalty while serving on the Armed Services Committee of the United States, overseeing the US military. The man has more connections to China than any serving governor in the United States, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
He has a deep commitment to both Marxism and Chinese communism, but he's just a folksy Midwesterner, right? Yeah. He's just your normal, he's just a football coach, he's just a grandfatherly figure. Kamala Harris is a complete scam, and so is Tim Walz. He's a pro-Chinese communist, a national security risk who wouldn't be allowed to work in the post office or the Department of Agriculture, but could be the vice president in 4 months' time. That's how badly we are compromised and infiltrated by the communist movement in this country.
That's right. No, it's unbelievable. You think you can't be amazed anymore. More happens, but
you think Obama and Biden were as bad as it gets? No. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Well, I'm so thankful for how you keep up on this to inform us. Tell everybody right now your new book's coming out in a couple weeks. How can they go pre-order? Where would they go to get a copy of your book on
Yeah.
Kamala?
It's called Stealth Kamala, and the cover will be going up on my website probably today. Stealth, you can pre-order it now. Stealth Kamala Harris's Communist Roots. Go to trevorloudon.com. Just my name.com. And also I have my other movies there. I've got several books on the congressmen and senators as well. But my latest one will be, you look at my books. If you look at the Congress members in your state, there'll be some commies there. If you live in Connecticut, they're all communists. But anyway, go to trevorloudon.com to pre-order a signed copy or many signed copies of Stealth Kamala Harris's Communist Roots.
Yes, and